Hi, everybody. It's Lindsey Baker with the Action Hour, and my guest tonight is Brittany Michelson, and she's here to talk about her new book, Voices for Animal Liberation. You know, we come to you every single Tuesday night at 5 o'clock, and tonight is going to be an amazing show. Brittany, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Lindsey, for having me.
We want to get into a lot of things. We want to talk about your activism, and we want to talk about your new book, of course. And we also want to hear about all the different things and how you got involved. Let's start out. Tell me why you became an activist. How old were you? How did you get into it? And how did it all evolve? Talk about that for a minute, if you would.
I became an activist in 2015. Like mid-2015, I became an animal rights activist.
Wow.
Justice was always something really important to me. Standing up against oppression is so important as a human being. And once I, realized the full extent of what was happening to animals, I decided to take action. I had been a vegetarian for many years before going vegan, and hadn't known the awful reality behind dairy and eggs. And so once I learned about that, I just was shocked. And anyway, it led to becoming an animal rights activist.
Wow, that's amazing. So here's a couple of images of you. Now, tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
So I'm a teacher. I teach in a private K-8 program in Santa Monica, and it is a program that caters to creative classes and very unique classes that are offered there, and it's a very progressive program. And so I have taught activism-related classes, and that was a lesson that I did on speciesism.
Wow. And those two quotes are very interesting. The soul is the same in all living creatures, although the body is in each is different. And that was Hippocrates. And the other one is, the question is not can they reason, nor can they think, but can they suffer? And that's Jerry Beetham, who is a philosopher. Wow. So, and we do want to make an acknowledgement before we go on in regards to suffering, of course. We do want to acknowledge Black Lives Matter, and I know Jane on Chain, I know you do, we all support that movement. Vegans for Black Lives Matter is an incredible new Facebook group, and I think we're all involved in that, and we're looking forward to merging our animal rights activism with Black Lives Matter activism. At least that's what my goals are. So
absolutely.
Want to say anything, please feel free if you want to make any kind of statement or anything.
Absolutely. Definitely. It's so important for the animal rights movement to stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, and for everybody to recognize the connections between forms of oppression and to stand up for our human brothers and sisters. Absolutely. So I'm definitely supporting the movement, and really hoping that a lot of animal rights activists are on board and standing up as well.
Okay, so let's look at a couple more pics, then we're going to go right into a movie. Now this, tell us a little bit about what's going on here without naming, of course, any specific companies. Please let us talk a little bit about what this is all about.
So this was a very recent rescue that myself and a few friends did. And we rescued 3 chickens from slaughter. And this was for the culmination of the Animal Liberation Online Assembly, which was being hosted in place of the regular Animal Liberation Conference this year. They did an online version. And so this was for the last day of the online assembly. There was a mass open rescue where different small groups had engaged in rescues and introduced the rescued animals and so forth. And these are the 3 chickens that we rescued in Los Angeles.
Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, and there's another picture here. Is that part of the same rescue, or is that no, that's a turkey?
Yeah, that's a turkey, and that was in Utah in November 2018 when 100 turkeys were released to us in from a slaughterhouse in Utah, and that was during the Animal Liberation Western Convergence.
I remember that. In fact, I know that Karen Snook took some of those turkeys as well, and several other groups did. That was wonderful. I remember that was very exhilarating for all of us around Thanksgiving because, of course, we know what happens. So maybe we have one more picture here. Let's talk about this one. Is that the same? You're wearing the clothes to go inside a facility here, correct?
Yeah, that's a biohazard suit, and we did not go inside the facility. This is in front of Farmer John near downtown.
We don't want to mention any.
Sorry. Well, it's part of the Cancel Animal Ag campaign.
Yeah.
And we just stood outside and we were raising awareness about the connection between animal agriculture and viruses, animal agriculture and pandemics.
This was recently, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let me see. 1 second. I have.
Your book highlights a wide variety of animal rights activists and all from all different walks of life, from military veterans to the founder of PETA to even television stars. How did you go about selecting whose stories you wanted to include and feature in your book?
There are so many incredible activists across the globe and so many powerful experiences and stories. I really wanted the book to be a mix of very established voices and newer voices. Certain activists I know personally, and so I have reached out to them. Others came about through connections in the animal rights movement. I wish that I could have had, 100 more stories in here because there are just so many. There's so much incredible work being done for animals at this time.
All right. I had another clip of that, but tell us a little bit more about that interview and how that came about and so forth.
That interview took place on the actual release date of the book, which was March 3rd of this year.
Wow.
And so a publicist from my publishing company, which is Skyhorse Publishing, had reached out to me that she had lined up an interview, and that was a TV interview, and that was with RT Media for a show called Watching the Hawks, which is part of the larger RT Media network. And so that was at a studio in Los Angeles just prior to the lockdown.
Yeah, that was not too long ago. Well, how did they discover your book and all of that? How did that all come about? Was that just something you thought of doing, or would someone approach you, or what happened?
Well, I have a mainstream publisher, so a publicist was assigned to my book, and she had been working to line a few things up. Unfortunately, the lockdown really intervened with a few things that could have taken place, but I was able to do that interview on March 3rd, the release date, which was, of course, prior to the lockdown.
And I thought you also did an interview. Did you not do a book signing, or was that camp?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was on March 7th in Santa Monica, and it was a Saturday evening at Avo Cafe, all vegan organic cafe in Santa Monica, and it was packed. There were so many people there, and that was just prior also to the lockdown. But yes, it was a wonderful evening where we had a reading, and contributors that were able to attend the event read excerpts from the book.
Wow. So you actually had some of the people that had written the book, and you have some lineup here. Jasmine Asafar, tell me if I'm pronouncing that right.
Afshar.
She is an Army veteran. Chase Avior is an actor. Avior. Yeah, I know Chase very well. I should know how to pronounce his name. Why don't you read them? I don't want to butcher. You know who they all are? Okay, so we've got Jean Bauer, Dotsie Bausch, Alex Bez, Matt Braun. Oh, the next one, Saint Duin Lek Foundation. Who is that?
She's Thai. She lives in Thailand, and
What's her name?
She goes by Lek. Everybody calls her Lek.
Lek. Okay. And then Amy Jean Davis, founder of LA Animals Save, Los Angeles Animal Save. Karen Davies, founder of United Poultry Concerns. Sean Hill, we all love Sean, award-winning multidisciplinary artist and humanitarian. Wayne Sung, founder of Direct Action Everywhere. Gwenna Hunter, a native Prajic, who of course is the founder of the Save Movement. Corey Mack, Joanne MacArthur, Zofar Molina. I'm doing pretty good so far, aren't I? Sean Munson, Alexander Paul, Brittany Pete, Jill Robinson, Zoe Rosenberg, Danny Rukin, Jasmine Singer, Katie Stevens, Natasha and Luca, that vegan couple, Will Tuttle, and Gillian, Megan Walters, and not to forget to mention that the foreword was written by none other than PETA, right?
Ingrid
Ingrid, I couldn't think, Ingrid Newkirk. Oh my God. PETA, yeah. PETA founder Ingrid Newkirk wrote the foreword. So let's just look at a couple of pages here, what I have. I have a little introduction. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that says?
Sure. So this is an anthology. So I obviously compiled the whole thing. It was my vision, my creation, of course. I wrote the introduction, which this is the first page of the introduction. And I wrote the closing, and I wrote my own story is in the book. And then I helped my contributors shape their pieces, and I edited all of them. So this page is just the beginning of the introduction that I wrote, and it just defines animal rights and activism. And there are 2 powerful quotes just to start the book out.
Yeah, let's see. Animal rights are not a gift we give to animals. They are the birthright we have taken from them. And that's Ryan Phillips. Do you have the book with you? Can you read this?
I do. Yeah, it's right here. And then do you want me to read the next quote?
Sure, please do.
Okay. So animals have qualities we find important to the legal rights of humans, like self-awareness, the need for sovereignty, and the capacity for suffering, love, and empathy. We will never fully dismantle the injustices humans suffer without deconstructing the same problems that lead to animal suffering, which is Mark Bekoff.
Wow, that is such a powerful statement and so true. And today more than ever, we really need to be aware of that. Here's some comments we've got so far. Johnny Martinez, make a nice vegan rice like fried rice, saffron, and veggies. Okay, maybe later. And then Sarah Siegel has put up a link to Amazon where you can find the book. So if people are looking, Carol Zerbano, Alexander Paul is from Baywatch. She played, what is this? Is this about what we're doing here?
Yeah, Alexandra Paul's an actress, one of my contributors.
Oh, one of the contributors I just read off. Okay. One struggle, one fight. That's Raman. Raman commented. Thank you, Raman, for tuning in. Great activist, Raman says. And Kate Sloan, veganism. Johnny Martinez, I need to get my homeless food and eat Impossible Whoppers. All men are trapped. Okay, we got some interesting comments. Lisa Carlin, Voices for Animal Liberation is a book everyone should read. Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
And then Raman Saber again, all the oppressed need to be defended. Animals have it worse than any human ever has. Skinned alive, blowtorched to death, suffocated by millions experimented on. Wow. All powerful statements. People have a lot of comments and opinions tonight. That's great. We want to hear from people. So thank you everyone for watching. So let's go on a little bit more with what you've got the pages, you've got the book in front of you. So maybe we can talk about this illustration here. Okay. Yeah, you can hold up the book too if you want. Once I put this down.
All right. So yeah, here's the book again, just so everybody can see the cover. Voices for Animal Liberation. So that artwork was done by an activist in the Bay Area named Corey, and I wanted a couple of artistic images for the book. There are some photographs in the book as well. The photographs are by Joanne MacArthur, award-winning photojournalist, and this illustration is almost at the end of the book. And I love what he created because it's a path with the animals going out an open door. I had a vision for this illustration, and so he and I connected and he created it.
Wow. And that's you walking with the animals. That's beautiful. That's really nice. Oops. Okay, let's talk. I really love this one. Copy and paste activism does not work. Let's address that a little bit. That's a really interesting subject. Go ahead.
So that's Gwenna Hunter's piece, and she writes about being a person of color in the animal rights movement and her experiences doing outreach for animals and some of the pushback that she has received at certain points from other members of the Black community, and it's her, belief in standing up for non-human animals and just the connections that she has made as an animal rights activist. And it's a very powerful, important piece called Copy and Paste Activism Does Not Work, Perspectives from a POC. And really well written and a very important piece to have in the anthology.
Yes, and copy and paste activism, what does that exactly mean? What does that term mean?
Yeah, so basically there's not one formula and there's not one right way to do activism. It depends a lot on your audience. So Gwenna was writing about how, she doesn't go into Black communities and just say, we have to stand up for the rights of animals. She approaches her activism in certain ways depending on the audience, and she is sensitive to the group that she is addressing. And she has certain ways that she sort of enters into conversations about animal rights and leading into it, which I really appreciate and respect very much.
And that's good advice for anyone approaching anyone, I think, because you really have to be sensitive to the person's background, how they were brought up, with their beliefs. There's so many aspects to why people do things like eat animals when we all know how. I guess some people, I can't believe that people still don't know that involves a lot of torture. What do you think? Do you think the message has gotten through, or do you think people still are under the impression there's such a thing as humane? You talked about that. We have, in fact, why don't we watch, do you want to watch that and we'll discuss it after that? That might be really cool. Let's do that.
Sure.
So would that be in the Speak Out, or would that be in the R2R where you're out in the audience? Let's try.
Advertising and marketing leads the public to believe that animals raised for food are living peaceful lives in green fields and then are somehow killed humanely. And terms like free range, cage free, and humane certified, knowing that people often feel better about their choices when buying from sources that they consider to be humane. This is a marketing ploy. Investigations have revealed extreme cruelty to supplier farms. Animals crammed by the thousands in windowless sheds, trampling each other to get to food and water.
Wow, we have a few more clips about that, but have you ever been inside a facility to see that firsthand? Or is it, we've all seen the videos and we know it's true, but I was just wondering, as far as your experience, have you ever been? I have not.
Well, I've done an investigation. I did an investigation at a calf farm where calves are raised for the female calves are sent to be part of the dairy industry, and the male calves are sent off to be slaughtered for veal. So I've done investigation at that type of place. That's where all of the hutches are outside. The calves are isolated in hutches, so it's not inside a facility, but it's at a facility. And I've also rescued animals from like the chickens that we just rescued, just as a quick example, those 3 chickens, they are from a facility, without naming the facility. They market their chicken products as organic and non-GMO.
Right.
And it's just this false idea, this misleading image. You know, we know the reality behind those marketing ploys.
Yeah, we actually have you talking about that in a minute. Let's keep going on.
Advertising and marketing leads the public to believe that animals raised for food are living peaceful lives in green fields and then are somehow killed humanely. And terms like free range, cage-free, and humane certified, knowing that people often feel better about their choices when buying from sources that they consider to be humane. This is a marketing ploy. Investigations have revealed extreme cruelty, starving and dehydrated, dying of thirst and starvation, animals with wounds and sickness and injury who never see the light of day. There are activists facing multiple felony charges for rescuing animals from extreme conditions.
Yeah, that's kind of what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just really such a shame that all of the false advertising is so widely spread. It's infuriating.
Now, I've been seeing some ads just lately, about how these farms have their cows outside. They go outside and it says sometimes. So there is that little, but I noticed there's more advertising about being more humane. So in a sense, that's a kernel of indication that they're getting the pressure to, the public's starting to ask questions. So I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a couple more clips of this, I think. That was the second one we played. So here's one more.
In certain states, it is legal to remove a dog from a car in high temperatures. Why are these protections denied when there's a pig or a chicken suffering in a hot, crowded building? All animals deserve to be rescued, yet activists are being charged with major fines and going to jail for rescuing animals and exposing the animal agriculture industry. This powerful industry and corporations are seeking to criminalize acts of compassion. Direct Action Everywhere is working on a campaign for the right to rescue. In the state of California, Penal Code 597E states that a person has the right to enter onto property where animals are deprived of food and water and provide aid. Legal necessity allows a dog to be saved from a hot car. Yet this code is not upheld for animals within the food industry.
Okay, let's play the last.
In order to achieve the right to rescue, it is necessary to establish that animals are persons, not property, so they will be protected under law. We are here to show the world that rescue is the right thing to do, no matter the species, and that activists who are carrying out these actions are reasonable people engaging in reasonable acts. As a species that has the ability to advocate for others, we have a moral imperative to protect the most innocent and vulnerable among us and to inspire others to take action. There is a growing unit on the front lines of this rising movement, armed with compassion and a belief in justice for all beings. As we work towards the right to rescue, and an animal bill of rights called Rose's Law, we will continue rescuing animals from hell and bringing them to sanctuary. And we will not stop until all animal exploitation industries cease to exist.
All right, we want to get back to your book because we did kind of jump off it for a second here, but do you want to talk a little bit about the right to rescue and so forth? what that whole program is that you're talking about there for people? Give them a little more background.
Yeah, sure. It's a campaign started by Direct Action Everywhere in the Bay Area, which is centered in Berkeley. And they are working on a resolution that they're hoping to get passed in various cities and hoping that it will then spread out with a ripple effect to enact the ability to legally rescue animals from situations of distress. And in the state of California, Penal Code 597E states that any animal that has been denied food or water for a certain length of time, and animals that are under duress can be rescued. However, the penal code is generally not upheld when it comes to animals that are not considered companion animals. So the animals that are suffering on farms. Whereas when it comes to dogs and cats, that's what that's what they intend for the penal code to refer to, but it actually says any animal. So there's like a loophole there.
That's great. That's great. And I hope I hope they expand the verbiage to say, eventually that all animals is what we mean, as opposed to companion animals. I mean, that's really, so I think that the whole thing about animals being considered property as opposed to being entities or individuals, that would certainly have an effect on this as well, right? So I know there's people like SIL, social compassion legislation, trying to pass the laws to get that enacted in many other organizations. Do you want to comment on that at all? I know we haven't discussed it, but in case you do.
Just in terms of other organizations working on,
or just your opinion of how that important that is, how instrumental do you believe that is in getting a lot of this passed, like the right to rescue? So
absolutely. I mean, getting legislation in place is huge. I mean, it's a huge piece of the fight for animal liberation, and we cannot achieve animal liberation without that crucial component. So the social compassion and legislation is fantastic. I mean, the work they've been doing for so long is crucial. And absolutely, I mean, the more legal campaigns that are started, and the more that, working with politicians and people that are in positions of authority and power to get these laws in place, hopefully. Definitely. It's imperative.
Yeah. We both said the same thing. Okay. Do you want to talk a little bit about your part of the book? Would you like to start with that? Can we talk about that?
Sure. So like I said earlier, I wrote the introduction and the closing. I compiled all the material and helped my contributors shape their pieces, and then I edited them. But my personal story is in the book as well. And because, again, this is an anthology. And so there are 6 sections in the book. I structured it to have 6 sections. And my story is in section 2, which is called Connecting the Dots, Perspectives on Animal Rights. And my story title is Living in Alignment with My Values, My Path to Animal Rights Activism. And so I basically describe or share growing up as an animal lover who was raised like most of us were, which was we loved our animals that were our pets, dogs and guinea pigs, and the animals that we had that we loved and we treated very well. But we sat down at the table to eat hamburgers like most American families. So it's just about the way that I, made the connections and how I became an animal rights activist, and how my teaching has played a role, because I am teaching some activism related classes in a private program, in addition to all the writing classes I teach. So it's just kind of my personal trajectory. And I also give my perspectives on animal rights and the way that forms of oppression connect. And so it's a comprehensive piece that I wrote for the book.
That's pretty cool. I was just going to say that I'm also a teacher, and my whole journey into activism started with my students. They gave me, have you ever heard of the Story of Stuff?
I have, yeah.
Stuff.org. Yep. Yeah, they gave me that. And we actually the first thing was corporation. And they showed me pictures of the cows with the huge udders. And they were saying, look how terrible. And then we started doing campaigns on it, and we moved in the area of activism and nonprofit before, well, I was still teaching full time. But anyway, just a little thought in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that's just amazing. And that you can actually teach this in the schools is just an incredible opportunity for you to reach so many young people and so forth.
Yeah. I'm lucky because I teach in a private program, so it's not part of the school district, so there definitely is more leeway. It's a progressive private program, and so, you know, one of the directors actually asked me if I would teach a lesson on speciesism. So I'm really lucky. Yeah,
that is amazing.
Yeah,
that is fantastic. We have a couple more pictures here from your book. Well, actually, this one. Tell us what this illustration means to you and why you chose it for the book.
This illustration was created by my friend Brianna, and I had the vision for the image here, and then she created it. I wanted to show an animal that is dreaming of liberation, and that's what she titled this piece, Dreaming of Liberation. And it really like gets you right in the heart, this image. It's a cartoon image, but look at the detail on the pig's face, the tears, and her mouth on the bar there, and then up above the pig in the sunshine and the mud. I mean, it really stabs me right in the heart.
Are there T-shirts of it?
There is now. So Brianna created this for my book originally, and then she went ahead and put the image on her Etsy, and I can share that. It's on stickers and T-shirts. And I've got the T-shirt, and I've got a couple of stickers, and it's Brianna. Her name is Brianna, Brianna. And her last name is Baer. Brianna Baer, and on her Etsy, stickers and T-shirts of that image.
Brianna with one N's or two?
Two N's.
Two N's. Okay, we'll put that up later. .etsy.com probably. We'll put that up. I'll check the link.
Okay.
And that's fantastic. Let's talk a little bit more, get more into some of the stories. Now, you had chosen, did we talk about this one? No, we didn't. Danny's story. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Sure. So Danny's story, how I made the connection, gay rights, feminism, and animal liberation. So this is Danny's story of how she is a lesbian and had been fighting for gay rights for a long time. And then she made the connection to animals and how she got into activism. It's her personal story. And she also discusses feminism and some experience that she's had in feminist circles when it comes to animal rights, and how there are many vocal feminists who just push away animal rights. You know, they're not extending that same passion or even the same logic to non-human animals when they're fighting
the connection, right?
The oppression of females. So yeah,
that's too bad. I want to read a couple more of the comments. Tina Walker, wow, cool. One day they will be free. And she also says, yep, it's cool the way they bring up animals, then they murder them. And then Tom, animal liberation now. And then Johnny Martinez said, thank you, ladies. I'm paraphrasing him because he said it a while ago, but he said, thank you. This brings some light into my day. So that was nice. I wanted to mention that. So let's continue here. So we talked a little bit about Danny's story, and then we have the wonderful Sean Hill, who was a contributor. And I believe I have, is this the whole poem? We all love Sean. Here's a poem. Was this Ingrid Newkirk, by the way? This is the foreword by Ingrid Newkirk. But also, is this the whole poem or just part of the poem?
No, that's Sean's whole poem is at the it's the last piece in the book to conclude the stories, and it's the only poem in the book. This is a book of personal essays and stories, but Sean wrote a poem, and it's called "Nonstop Loving: An Ode to Activists," and it's the last piece in the book, and it's really fantastic.
Can you read it? I mean, can you read it now?
Oh, sure.
Is it really long, or is it readable?
It's a few pages, but it's a poem. It's like 4 pages.
That I don't know. You can read some. Why don't you read a piece of it? Go ahead and read it.
I'll read a piece of it.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Let's see here. Okay. Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change. Tolstoy told us that. The definition of activist consists of a single person's efforts to promote, impede, direct, or intervene in social, political, economic, or environmental reform in order to change the norms of society. I mean, that's just the opening.
Yeah.
It's a powerful poem, and he performed it at my book release party in Santa Monica, and it was fabulous.
I wish we had a clip of him performing it. Maybe we can have him on and do it.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Have you on again and have him come back on.
Yeah.
Always lots we can talk about. I'm sure stuff will be brewing soon. So yeah, you guys, you're always so active in everything. And you want to talk a little bit about what Ingrid Newkirk wrote in her opening? Would you like to discuss that?
Okay, so she wrote the foreword, and she highlights points from a handful of the stories in the book to draw a few connections. And I love what she writes at the very end. I'll just share what is at the very end of the foreword, which is, please read this book, pass it on to others, and take its lessons to heart, because the golden rule requires each of us to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And that is the message of animal liberation. And that's the last line of her foreword.
Wow, that really says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's always been to me my proof, that's it's so simple. But not to jump off the subject, but Sarah wants to put up the Etsy, and she wants the spelling of the last name for Brianna.
It's B-A-E-R.
B-A-E-R. Okay, she probably heard us because she's texting me. All right. So we also have a couple of Brittany Pete, her story. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So Brittany Pete her piece is in the campaigns and outreach Anchors of Change. That's the title of the section, and that is section 4. And her piece is called Saving Joe and Legal Wins for Captive Animals. She is the director of captive animal law enforcement for the PETA Foundation. And so she and her team have rescued, or rather they have been able to have numerous animals released from roadside zoos and circuses and different forms of animal exploitation. They have been able to get chimpanzees and different big cats, tigers and lions, and just a variety of animals released to sanctuary due to the campaigns that she does as the director of captive animal law enforcement. So her piece is about the rescue story of Joe, a chimpanzee who was living for years at a roadside zoo in Alabama. And he was so stressed, he was pulling his hair out, and he lived alone in like the size of a dog pen. Really sad. And they campaigned, and Joe was released to a chimpanzee sanctuary, and that roadside zoo was shut down, and all the animals were released.
Wow.
So she does fantastic work that's really so crucial.
So she does it mostly through campaigning, or what is the techniques? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So Brittany Pete, she heads up different campaigns working to get animals released from roadside zoos and circuses. So wild animals that are being held captive, that's her focus.
Wow.
And, sometimes the campaigns take a long time, and she writes about that, and other times they move faster. But, there are so many loopholes that tend to surface. And but she talks a lot about persistence, and her piece is really strong, very strong. I mean, all of the pieces in here are so dynamic and so powerful.
Do you think they give inspiration to activists like ourselves that sometimes need that shot in the arm? Is this a book that will give inspiration and even maybe some ideas? I'm like, oh, maybe that could work, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I see this book as catering to multiple audiences. So, of course, I want this book in the hands of every non-vegan on the planet, because I know that the power of these stories has the ability to change hearts and minds for the animals and to make an impact for the animal rights movement. But also, the book is really an important and valuable resource for we as activists, because it's motivational. It can inspire people to try different forms of activism, to branch out and take risks. And so I see it really being appropriate for various types of people, different audiences. And it might also encourage, vegans who aren't active yet to become activists.
Right. I think that will maybe turn some people vegan for sure. We have one more person that you wanted me to highlight here for you. So there you go. Jill Robinson. You want to talk about Jill a little bit?
Jill,
we talked about her off camera, right? We didn't already talk about her.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. All right.
So Jill Robinson is the founder of Animals Asia, and her piece is in section 1. Section 1 is Seasoned Warriors, Inspiring and Transforming. And her piece is called Ending Bear Bile Farming, a Clarion Call. So she's been working for many years to end the horrendous bear bile farming industry in China and Vietnam, and has shut down various bear bile farms and rescued many bears, which live at their sanctuaries, former bears that were being exploited for their bile. And so Jill is just an amazing human being, and her piece is really educates people about that whole industry and the work that Animals Asia has done.
That's amazing. I don't think many people are aware of what's going on. Can you talk a little bit more about what the bear bile industry is, why they would want to farm bear bile and all of that? Can you address that for a second? Yeah.
So bears are kept in cages on farms, and bile is extracted through holes in their stomachs to be used for different medicines, like Chinese medicines and this and that. Not only is it extremely cruel, but there are synthetic alternatives available. But again, like the various forms of animal exploitation, it's a money-making thing. And so they continue to exploit and extract the bear bile, even though there are synthetics that they could use in place, because, it's an industry. So it's when I first learned about bear bile farming several years ago, I was like depressed for a week. I couldn't even, I'd never heard of it. It was just crazy.
Yeah. I have a couple more miscellaneous photos here of you doing with animals and so forth. I thought I'd show. Now, what is this one? You're with the elephants. Is there any particular story tied to this? Are we visiting Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a very important and a very special place to me. Elephant Nature Park is a sanctuary in northern Thailand. I volunteered there twice for 2 weeks at a time. And this was the first time I volunteered there, which was in early 2016. I also went back in August of 2018. And the founder, Lek, she is the founder of Save Elephant Foundation, and she's one of the contributors in my book. I know her personally, and she wrote a piece. The last section of my book is on sanctuaries. It's called The Sanctuary Life to Heaven from Hell. And her piece is called In the Steps of Giants, Saving Elephants in Southeast Asia. And they rescue elephants from various abusive situations, like they rescue elephants from the trekking industry, the logging industry, street begging, performing, you name it. And they also rescue hundreds of other animals. They have all kinds of rescue animals at their sanctuaries.
Wow, that's fantastic. What's the name of that sanctuary again, please? Say that again.
Elephant Nature Park in northern Thailand. And they also have Cambodia Wildlife Sanctuary.
Yeah, I was just on a couple of days ago with Wildlife SOS, and they do a lot of work with elephants, the begging bears, and all of that. And we showed the shackles and the spikes, and that was the first time I'd seen it, and it was just unbelievable. We do have a couple more clips here. Let's play another clip of your activism. This was a street.
We are out here marching for the trillions of innocent beings who are suffering in the food, clothing, animal testing, and entertainment industries. These individuals who are just as capable of love, fear, and pain as the dogs and cats we share our homes with are tortured daily. We are here with a message that animals' lives are their right, and there is zero excuse for animal abuse. We have an obligation to stand up for the most vulnerable beings on the planet. We will continue rescuing animals from hell and bringing them to sanctuary, and we will not stop until all animal exploitation industries cease to exist.
Wow, that was powerful. Tell us a little bit about where that was and what was going on there.
That was, I get the conferences and events, like it's like
I know, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. That was at one of the big marches in San Francisco. And I think that was at the Animal Liberation Conference last year, so 2019, and that was the huge march. And so I gave one of the speak outs, and there were hundreds of us marching. Very powerful.
Yes. We have one last clip here. Let's show that. You know, we're almost out of time. We got 10 minutes.
On behalf of the 46 million turkeys that are born to be killed each year in this country to celebrate Thanksgiving, which is a holiday of peace and giving thanks. No. Yet the tortured corpses of animals are placed as centerpieces on tables across the country. 46 million turkeys live an awful existence to be killed around 6 months of age, 4 to 6 months of age.
That's when they're best.
They are kept in windowless sheds, crammed together. They are debeaked without painkillers.
She doesn't know what she's holding over here.
They are bred to be so large that their fragile legs break beneath them.
Wow. So you don't have to say the story, but what was that about? And who was that person? Was that just a stander by, a walker by, or what was that?
So that was a grocery store disruption, and just right before Thanksgiving a couple of years ago. And there was a customer there who decided to interject some comments. He just kept kind of sliding these comments in there, and he, but I carried on and just stayed focused on what I was saying and just ignored him, because that's what you have to do.
Yeah, you did a great job with that, by the way. Yeah. And so why do you think, the thing that I was going to say is I was surprised that they didn't kick you guys out of there, because normally when we see that, people are there for 2 seconds and then they're out the door. How did you guys get to stay there that long? I mean, that was I just gave a clip that you were there a long time, weren't you? And no one
I mean, we were inside the store for probably over 5 minutes, and another activist gave a speak out as well, or I don't know, there might have been 1 or 2 other speak outs, but yeah, it always depends when we're inside stores. I mean, sometimes we're only in there for a few minutes, and other times we're in there for like 10 minutes. But we usually don't go over like 10 minutes. We go in, we get our message out there, and then we leave. We don't try to stay in for too long.
Right.
And, usually a security person or manager will come over and ask us to leave. And then we kind of, then we make our way out, but we get our message out there, and then we just start heading out.
Yeah. I noticed, I was watching some videos not too long ago that they were getting less and less tolerant of activists coming in, they'd cut them off immediately, call the police immediately. So that's what really surprised me, that you were able to stay in there that long. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was also a couple of years ago, but yeah. So
I think the pressure is on more now, and that would been taken a different way. So we have a couple of, did we show the rescue turtle shot here?
This is my little tortoise, Franklin, who I rescued a little over a year ago, and he had a sad life prior. He lived in a small tank, and he was stressed out and bumping against the sides. And anyway, an acquaintance contacted me because I had 2 other tortoises that I had adopted previously. And so I adopted Franklin, and my tortoises live outside. They have plenty of space, and they get to be tortoises and live a nice life.
So a tortoise, now it's against the law now, but I remember when I was little, we used to get little turtles, so horrible. And they can actually grow, because I rescued some and they grew full size, but they're different than tortoises, of course. Now the tortoise doesn't need water, doesn't need to be in water, or how do they kind of walk on they're able to just be out in the grass and all that, or how does that work?
Yeah, they don't need water the way that turtles do. So they're a different species, but they'll take a soak occasionally. They'll do a soak, and that's how they hydrate. But they also hibernate for several months in the winter, and they don't need water when they're hibernating. So they retain water for lengthy amounts of time. So they, and I'm about to adopt a turtle.
Another one.
Yeah. I'm about to adopt a turtle that breaks my heart, but has been living in a 1 foot by 2.5 foot tank for 25 years. And a fellow vegan reached out to me because he knows people that have this turtle, and they've decided to rehome her. So he asked me if I would take her, and I'm working on an outdoor enclosure, and then she'll be coming to live outdoors with plenty of space.
Oh, that'd be nice. So she can go in the grass and then dive in the water and do all that stuff turtles like to do, like around a pond.
Well, she's a land turtle. She's a box turtle, not an aquatic.
Oh, okay, that's
so
good.
She does need like a place to climb into the water and soak.
Yeah,
but she doesn't swim. She's not a swimmer.
Oh, that's good, because those are, I imagine that's a little harder to home those type of turtles unless you have a huge pond. And one time I asked a friend if he could rescue some, but he had large goldfish, and of course you can't mingle them, so it didn't work out. But anyway, we're down to we got 5 minutes left, so I want to give you a few minutes to kind of just wrap up about anything you want to talk about, maybe a little bit more about anything more. Do we leave out anything on your book or anything you want to cover we haven't covered?
don't think so. I think we covered a good amount. And again, here it is. And it is available on multiple sites online. The publisher is Skyhorse Publishing. So it's on their website. It's also on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and various sites. If you just Google the title and my name, you can find it. It's also available in bookstores, although the bookstores have been closed, but some are reopening. So yeah, it's if you already have a copy, you might consider getting a copy for a friend or family member. And
go ahead. I'm sorry. I have a question about getting.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask you if people, you had mentioned that, and I was a little distracted, I have to be honest. Sarah's saying the Etsy site doesn't work. So if you have any other info on that.
Sorry, which site?
The Etsy that for Brianna.
Oh. Yeah, you just have to look. Thanks, Sarah. You just have to look for her name on Etsy. It's Brianna Bayer, Baer. But I'm not sure of the exact site URL. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, maybe she has. Sometimes they name them. But anyway, and I was going to ask you because I haven't gotten my copy, and you said that you have a lot of signed copies that unfortunately because of COVID you haven't been able to go out and do your book signings. So if people do want to get a book, they can get it from you now if they don't want to wait.
Yeah.
Well, you would mail it to them. And so they could go to either Venmo or PayPal. And so on Venmo, we could also add this. Venmo, it would be what? How could they reach?
Yeah, the best thing to do is to send me a message on Facebook. I'm Brittany Michelson, or on Instagram. I'm Brittany for Animals on Instagram.
Okay.
If you private message me that you'd like a signed copy, I do have plenty of copies on hand that I was planning to sell at events and conferences that were canceled due to COVID. So yeah, my Venmo, and then, just message me, and then
that's probably
and I can mail it to you. But yeah, if anybody wants a signed copy, I have copies on hand. You can get from me.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I will message you and I'll get that exact information from you when we get off. But
thank you.
Okay, well, we're right on time. It's 5:59, so we're right on time here. And thank you so much for being on, Brittany. And I would love to have you on again. Maybe we can come on with Sean and he can read his beautiful poem from your book for us.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have him read the whole thing for us.
Absolutely.
And who knows, maybe somebody else in the book will come on too. It'd be kind of make their book come alive in 3D for everyone.
Yes, I would love to do that. That would be great. Thank you so much.
We'll plan that. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And folks, thank you for watching. I'll be on every Tuesday from 5 to 6. So join me on Rescue Stories and Action Hour on Saturday at 10. Catch you all later, 10 a.m. that is. Catch you later, guys. Thank you, Brittany. Bye-bye.
Bye.